Story time with Song of the Sea, how we became advanced scuba divers. We absolutely love scuba diving, and for a few years we already had our entry-level open water certification. But while we were in Tonga, we had the opportunity to level up and get an advanced certification. So for that, we had to do 4 training dives, and they were all amazing, including one at night with fluorescent corals. So stay tuned for that one, it's at the end.
We got our training from Axel from AX Factor Dives. Before we actually started diving, we had to read. We had to do our homework. There are SSI courses we took. We read and did the practice questions before we could do the hands-on experience portion of the course. Every diving day, we would come in on our dinghy, walk up those stairs, looking at the plants, birds, and sometimes bats. My dad would look and say, "There's Count Dracula." So that was fun. Then we'd go prepare our diving gear, suit up, climb down those steps, get into a boat or into the water, and start our dive.
Our first one was actually going back to the basics, and it had to do with perfecting our buoyancy control. So buoyancy is basically how you float in the water. Whenever you take a deep breath in, you're going to rise up, but whenever you let air out of your lungs, you're going to sink down. Usually, I would compensate for that by just kicking my legs and moving faster. But in this dive, we had to literally sit in one spot on the sand and perfectly stay there just by breathing without moving or anything like that. So Axel, our trainer, he was doing perfect, just in one spot like this, perfectly calm. For me, I would inhale and I'm starting to float up like this. And then if I exhale, I'm like crashing on the sand like... So it was really bad, but eventually I got it.
One of the buoyancy exercises was to go upside down and maintain a position where your head is just a few inches off the ground. That was difficult. I flipped over a couple of times, just front flip, back flip, all the flips, but I eventually got it.
Then we had 2 dives at a certain shipwreck for our wreck dive and our deep water dive. And the ship is so huge, 140 meters long. That's why we had to do it twice. It's called the Clan McWilliam, and it sunk the day after Christmas in 1927. First, we went down at the stern, or the back of the ship. Our depth was 100 feet or 30 meters. There were 2 chimneys and they rose up teeming with wildlife. It was amazing. And here was our real life reaction right after it happened.
Even just going down, there were tons of jellyfish all around. In the wreck itself, there were a lot of different corals, like bubble coral, which we really haven't seen much anywhere else. They're really pretty and puffy. There was a swarm of fish that would just swim past us, do something over there, and then go back, and it's like they never were there. What were they up to? And there was what Axel calls the jaws, where you swim through the ship and it's like the ship has teeth. It was cool. The next day we dove the bow or the front of the boat. We went down the front of the holes looking at all the different sea life, including some clams that would shut if you scared them with a flashlight. Then we went back up, took some Titanic-like pictures, and then we explored the deck of the ship, which was teeming with life and interesting features of the ship, and we found Nemo, or at least Nemo's cousin. The center of the ship was collapsed because of the fire that ravaged the ship and made it sink. So that part was extra deep and for some reason extra murky, but we could still see the side rails. It was super interesting.
We ascended to the surface while it was raining. The whole week was really dreary weather. So the rain is crazy. So we've been taking shelter inside.
The rain lightened up and now we're getting ready to go.
And all of the rain put tons of dirt into the ocean, which really affected the visibility. And that was perfect for our navigational skill training, which is basically when you use a compass underwater. It can be really useful if you have a certain place you want to go to just take the heading, go in that direction, and know how to get back. So we trained a lot with the compass, and we also did basic eye navigation, using landmarks around you and keeping them in your brain to keep track of your location. At one point, Axel took us on a completely unfamiliar path and told us, "You have to find our way back." And well, thankfully we didn't get lost, so it did work out.
Yay! Eventually, the weather cleared up and we had the gorgeous sunset to accompany us as we dove in for our night dive. We went in, got acclimated with our full spectrum lights, then we turned them off oh no, the darkness. And then we turned on these special UV lights that made the corals pop with color. It was like a disco party. Whoop, whoop.
The corals glowed because they were fluorescent. They were mainly bright neon green, but there were some that were blue and also some that were outlined in red. It was absolutely beautiful to see those pops of green among all of the black, but just the UV lights themselves with their purple beams were absolutely stunning to see. Sometimes the nighttime with all the darkness was disorienting, so we had to make sure to not bump into any corals or sea urchins that we could not see. So this disco dive, as Axel calls it, was unforgettable. We had never seen fluorescent coral before, so it was an experience unlike any other we've ever had.
And after that night, we were official SSI Advanced Scuba Divers. We're excited to keep exploring the underwater world, especially with these new skills and confidence. Thanks for watching.